Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's here to take you through a shopping mall, or guide you down the hall. They don't call it halls. The halls are the shopping malls because they're not really hallways. How low does the ceiling have to be for it to be a hallway? I mean, I think I've seen some cinematic hallways where the ceiling's been like 20 or 30 feet. I mean, those have been actually back hallways of the mallways. Hallways and mallways. The Sleep With Me podcast, going off topic always. So if you're new, welcome to Sleep With Me. It's a podcast that's a little bit different. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, this show, you say, what is this person going on about? And if you're wondering that, you might be in the right place. I'm here to keep you company, to take your mind off stuff so you could fall asleep. This podcast is a bit different, but really, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. And all the regular listeners are smiling too, because they really hope this podcast could help you out. If you're having trouble falling asleep, you need something to distract you in the night or keep you company, or you need a break during the day, this show is here to try to help you. And the way I help you is just by being your friend in the deep, dark night. What we got coming up, support, so paying for the podcast is optional, then a long, meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime. And then later on, there'll be a bedtime story to put you to sleep, Multiplex, I think episode 9, but it's a kind of a show you could listen to in any order. So I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate you coming by. Most listeners say give this show a few tries to see how it goes. But good to see you again, or welcome if you're new. And these sponsors are how we're able to do it for you for free twice a week. Hey, everybody, this is Drew Scooter, and I just want to lay out some of the goals I have for Sleep With Me, which really haven't changed much in the history of the podcast. My biggest goal is not to put you to sleep, but to bring you some comfort, relief, some peace of mind, some good company in the deep, dark night, a friendly distraction, maybe bring you some sleepy joy and delight so you could fall asleep. But if you can't sleep, or it's really difficult, or whatever it is that you're dealing with, that you know somebody's there for you, somebody's there with you, that you could just listen to and you don't really have to pay attention to. Because that's what I always wanted my whole life, particularly when I was younger and I couldn't sleep at all, was just some kind of comforting presence to help me fall asleep or to get through the night. So those are the main goals of the show. I'm not sure if you share any of those goals. If you already do, you're saying, yes, Scoots, you've done all that for me. Spread the word about the podcast or sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus so we can keep doing that. And I guess the secondary goals of the show are to make sure the podcast is free for anyone that needs it, who couldn't pay, or for anybody to discover it, maybe just like you did, not knowing it's out there, not knowing what it's like until they try it out a few times and they say, holy cow, I had no idea this would work for me, but I'm so glad I found it. Or for people that just need the podcast every once in a while when they're going through a really, really tough time. Those are the secondary goals. And I guess the third level goals is I'd like to keep making this show long into the future. I'd like this podcast to keep coming out on a regular basis. So if any of those goals, the primary goals of the show, the secondary goals of the show, or the third level goals of the show resonate for you, if any of those goals impact you, could you please consider supporting the show in one of those two ways? It's so powerful. And then you could be a part of those goals coming true. You could say to yourself every single night, I let 5 people know about the podcast. I let 1 person know about the podcast. Or, and this is the truth, my $60 a year changed the entire history of Sleep With Me. My $240 a year, my $7 a month. It's what makes the difference between the show being here for free for people to discover it, to bring people that sleepy joy and delight. And I'm so proud of that. Either one will change the future of the podcast, will make all those goals come true. Just like our first episode was you make my dreams come true. This next episode coming out, this episode is a community effort, really. And if you want to be a part of that community effort, please consider supporting the show by spreading the word or supporting it directly. Thanks. All right, everybody, Scooter here. This is our episodically modular series Multiplex. 3 different series names popped in my head first. And then I said, what is the name of the series? Even though I knew it. Which ones? Nuns in Space, Make Great Pets, and Spice Friends. And then the correct one got in there eventually. But yeah, welcome. This is our episodically modular series Multiplex. What that means is you can listen to it in any order. If this is your first episode of Multiplex, don't worry. The main characters will fill you in at the beginning of the story. And it's just about friends in a shopping mall on an adventure to be ordinary. Not ordinary adventure, but an adventure to be ordinary. Extraordinary adventures to be ordinary. So that's pretty cool. And I think that's it. What do you say? We have our Hollywood announcer, which I always say, but he comes from the greater Los Angeles area. And I found recently the more I compliment him on his amazing abilities, the quieter he is. Like he has, like, not only does he have so many amazing, when I think about intangible and tangible qualities that surpass, I don't know, I can't compliment him enough to make up for all I've put him through. But he loves putting you all to sleep so much. He comes here from the greater Los Angeles area under stored solar power. Or wind power. Okay, he said sometimes wind power. He's hoping one day he could come here based on stored geothermal energy. I mean, why not just go for it? Geothermal, maybe you could, come under, no. I would like to be, if I could, other than, I wouldn't sing that song. Would I want to be under the sea in what is that thing called? A pineapple under the sea? I'd like to live in a giant mansion near the sea with geothermal, that has geothermal, heating and cooling, and a pool, ideally, maybe one that's geothermally heated and cooled, too, that's paid for by our Hollywood announcer. And then I would record from there in between enjoying the geothermal, oh boy, I don't even know what that would feel like, but, while we're, getting you powered, while we're, why not? Can I enjoy some of the geothermal energy while we store it for you? Can I be a passive, I don't know. That's talk about a dream I have. Who lives in a mansion powered, heated and cooled geothermally? That would be me, ideally, if, Antonio's just smiling and shaking his head. So this is our Hollywood announcer, Mr. Antonio Banderas. The friends beyond the binaries, the ladies and gentlemen, the boys and girls, it's time to go into the multiplex. Oh, wow. That was new. Thanks, this is Mr. Antonio Banderas. This is Multiplex, everybody. Good evening, everybody. My name is Boyd, and I'm recording I'm recording my story. Well, it's not just my story. It's a story of myself and my friends, Santos, Josie, and Boyd. Did I say my name is Boyd or Wyatt? My name is Wyatt, though a lot of times I see myself through Boyd's eyes. But I'm here to tell you a tale of how my friends and I became ordinary. We went on quite an adventure, and this is when we were just finishing up high school, the 4 of us. And the 3 of us, Boyd was different, but not Boyd was our acquaintance, not our friend. And at this point, I think we could call us friends. But before the tale started, the 3 of us were friends, and we were all what you would call destined for greatness, or not even destined for greatness, working towards greatness academically, athletically, interpersonally. We were all 3 of us. That was what us brought together was I don't know, not just ambition and not just adult authority figure ambition. I don't know what was pulling us. There was a lot of things pulling us towards being successful. I think that's the way we grew up and the time we grew up in was that's what you wanted to do. What are you going to do with your life was a big question. And that wasn't just a question. If you're relating to what I'm saying, it was also, there was a message in there, which I guess would be, you should have some big plans for your life. Now, this tale is how we went on an adventure to change that. All our plans for our lives changed not in a way of like, oh, there's an obstacle, let's change our plans. But let's go on this heroic adventure that we didn't plan on going on and then change our trajectories to become what most people would say is ordinary or regular. Though I don't think that word really applies. Average, none of that works because it all has that same message in there in comparison. But how do you become people among people and like kind of be in the background satisfied? Like maybe there's a movie where there's a character in the background in a comfy couch or sofa or chair. And you say, well, that's, this is just this is fan fiction, but maybe that person's comfortable. And they're saying, all I got to do is sit here and act like I'm sitting here without acting like I'm sitting here. Don't need to be the star. I'm getting compensated for my time and I'm just sitting here. Anyway, this adventure took place, like I said, when we were finishing up high school. We were playing mini golf. I just missed out on a scholarship, which was going to affect my trajectory to greatness. But I thought I had to do something to stay on that path because I didn't have a scholarship anymore that I assumed I was getting, but didn't get it. And we were playing mini golf to take my mind off that fact. Santos and Josie had, they were already on, they were going to their schools. And we ran across Boyd, Boyd came through a culvert. Boyd said, this is a summary. Boyd said, if you follow me through this culvert, I've got access to this culvert, and it accesses the old shopping mall, Fair Glen shopping mall. And if we go in there, there's cases of Julius J. Juice concentrate, which we could sell on what would become the internet for our time, pre-internet, for a profit, because we're just moving them. Julius J. Juice at this time, the company no longer existed. Their stores had been liquidated, and these were in spoil-free cans, so they were basically free for the taking as far as we saw it. And we said, sure. So we just go into this mall, take the Julius J. Juice out, basically abandoned property, and then you'll sell it, and it'll actually help cover some of my costs since I didn't get the scholarship. The problem solved. Well, when we went in the mall, what we discovered was something more than what we expected. There was something happening in this mall. At first, we thought it was an immersive theater. Well, first we thought, well, this is strange because we met some workers, then we met some beings from movies, and we thought it was like a mystery dinner or something, but taking place in a mall. And then we realized it was real. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, we never realized it was real, even though we realized it was real. We had to manage suspending our disbelief, but not, you know what I'm saying? I think you know what I'm saying. I mean, if you were in a mall that was closed and there was workers there, fully stocked stores, and sometimes they weren't like things that were happening like a dream. And what we found is these characters were leaving their movies and they needed help getting back into their movies. But first they needed help resolving, a way to resolve things in the movie. Because in the movie, you know, they were the main character in their own story. I think that's a popular saying nowadays. But in the movie, they weren't the main character. They were, while the movies were all named after them, it's funny, but they were considered the most non-positive character in the film. And the films were about them, you know, having the old tables turned on them. And our job was to not turn the tables again against who was turning the tables against the movie character. Our job was to help resolve things in a way. And so we helped a mommy, and then we helped Franny get back into their movies with a nicer ending for them. And then suddenly the endings would become cereal commercials. Again, we were in high school, and we were like, this must be, I don't know, it must be something. We didn't think too much about it. Also, time had slowed, but we didn't learn that until we met the Crunchy Commander Crisp, one of the most famous cereal mascots, and that was like meeting a real cereal mascot in real life, which was even stranger than meeting the characters from the movies, because as you know, Commander Crisp kind of looks like an animated character. And Commander Crisp, Crunchy Crispy Commander, Commander Crunch, Crispy Commander, cereal, breakfast time, said, hey, yeah, you got to keep helping out on this. We're on a transverse plane, intersection of universes. Somehow these characters are coming out of their movies. They need help. Also, Commander Crunch never said that there's also people in the mall that need help. I can't remember that part. But anyway, it was like being in a middle world, I guess, but not Middle Earth. I don't know. Middle Earth's a different thing. Middle Earth's a real world to the people in Middle Earth, right? So forget I said that part because it doesn't make any sense. But, okay, I think, so characters coming out of movies, they needed our help getting back into their movies. They become cereal commercials. Crispy Commander Crunch said, yeah, that's what's happening. If you keep doing it, the movie cereal part's my plan. And if you keep doing it, you're helping your world, and you're also gonna, what do you call it? You're going to help your world and my world, and you'll be compensated. And by the way, time slowed down. One day in the mall is 1 hour in the world outside of here. So you got plenty of time. Also, there was food. We were able to sleep. And, we're teenagers. This was, I think each of us was holding in our mind how cool this was. And all the other feelings and the non-cool feelings, we held them at bay because we were teens. That's what teenagers do. We call it angst, I think. It's not really angst. It's just ignoring all that stuff, bubbling below the surface. It makes you angsty. At least I could only speak for myself, I guess. But we weren't angsty at this time, really, because we were so focused. So we said, sure. We went back to the theater. Then we were looking around the mall. We found the Count de Chocolate, who was stuck in a chocolate shell, like in a life-size chocolate shell. Count de Chocolate said, hey, I've got a chocolate touch. So the couple things that I could tell you about now. This didn't match up with what we had seen because the movie was called The Count, and it was a little bit different. In our world now, instead of tomato juice, if you know what I'm saying, the Count de Chocolate had the chocolate touch, a lot like stories you hear as a kid about gold and other things. And anything the Count touched turned to chocolate. And the Count was also from Europe, which is only important because in Europe, according to the Count, that's where real chocolate is. Here in the U.S., we don't have real chocolate. According to the Count, don't, send me any letters. I would say our chocolates are formulated in different ways. And as the Count said, I don't know, the human warmth melts real chocolate. And here in the U.S., particularly at the time, human warmth was not, our chocolate could resist human warmth to a certain extent. I mean, if you leave it in your pocket all day long, it's not going to, resist that kind of warmth. Also, different formulations. What's important about that is the Count de Chocolate couldn't turn fake chocolate using the count's words here, for U.S. formulated chocolate, which when we eat it, tastes like chocolate to us. It's just a different formulation. Yeah, because we didn't really learn too much about the Count's backstory, how the Count got the chocolate touch. But the Count lived the Count's lives, or just like in the movie, long lives, timeless life with the chocolate touch. And for a while, at least what the Count told us, the Count made the most of it. But at some point, then the Count became an uninvited guest of Vilma Vanka and had to make chocolate for her so she could have a chocolate enterprise. And the Count said, I don't like this anymore. And eventually they became to an agreement and the Count moved on. But something with the intensity of the chocolate production there made it so that the Count could not even... It wasn't even a physical touch anymore that would turn people to chocolate or things. If the Count had warmth for you in your heart, like waving and conversing with you, this is just in the movie, by the way, because you'd say, how come you kids were like, I don't know, that we didn't never thought about that, but I'm pretty sure it's because it was just in the movie. Even though it wasn't in the movie, it would be in the movie, as you'll see. But so, like, in the movie, the Count, like, in what would become the movie, or this was the transverse plane version of the movie, let's say the Count, like, not Mina, who was, why can't I never remember it? Oh, Lucy. Like, so the Count would see Lucy and Mina walk, and Jonathan Harker, all, like, but particularly Lucy, and the Count would wave from London. And the Count's heart, the spirit, the Count's of, like, the Count would have said, hey, I'd like to have some of these people close to my heart, or, if my back's sweating too. And that turned people to chocolate too, or started with Mina. This is what the Count told us. And the Count, who would want to let, that's like, I don't even think with the Midas, it was like that. It said, well, if I loved you, would you turn to gold? Like, that's even worse, right? Now I'm thinking about that lady with the stone gaze, and I really feel for her. Like, so this is about the Count. So as far as we knew, and the Count wanted to get back into the movie to get home, but also wanted this problem resolved. Can I be close to other people? And it was actually the Count that helped us. The reason the Count was in a chocolate shell, or a fake chocolate shell, if you're using the Count's terminology, was because the Count had realized this chocolate's different than the chocolate produced in Europe or produced by my touch. Maybe if I cover myself in in a layer of fake American chocolate, I'll be able to do but then it's like because the Count doesn't have because of human warmth, but even the Count's like a few degrees less than human warmth. If you're familiar, like the Count was in a chocolate shell. So we got the Count out of the chocolate shell. We're trying to help the Count currently. We took a nap after we heard the Count's multiple layers of story. And then we started brainstorming like, so being in a chocolate shell doesn't work, right? So what are we going to do now? What else can we do? And we said, okay, what about a thinner layer? And the Count said, this stuff, it doesn't melt with, even, and I don't know what's in the chocolate to do that. But then, I don't know if you remember this, but if you've been listening to these whole stories, well, you don't need to remember it. So we had gotten different, so at one point we'd helped an employee of the World of Cutlery, and we had different devices, samurai devices or multi-tool type things. And San said, well, what if we start scraping chocolate, American chocolate? I'll just call that our stuff, into scraping chunks. And then we said, we can't smear it. And then I think it was Josie, though it may have been Boyd, said, what about Oceans of Lotion? I said, Oceans of Lotion? Oceans of Lotion and Other Potions was the name of the store. And we went there, and then we got different lotion. We got like big tubs of lotion, and we brought it back there, and then we started mixing a lotion. And we said, this is great. Like, we'll mix up a lotion. We'll give you a bunch of lotion to take. This was the easiest one we could ever solved. So we started we started scraping little chocolate bits and chocolate shavings, and I even had a file, though that would melt the chocolate. It didn't really work. But yeah, so, and the count was like, okay, I think this will work. So then we got the count slathered. The count had to do self-slathering, obviously, because of the chocolate touch. But it worked because the lotion didn't turn to chocolate. And then the count, you might say, here's the thing. We did have this question, too. How do you drink water? The count said out of a chocolate cup, obviously. And I do a lot of stuff with a chocolate stick or chocolate. The count was very adept. So the count could turn on a water faucet with a stick and hold a chocolate cup. So they should answer those questions. You know, how does the count eat? Chopsticks or a fork? How's the count prepare things? The same thing. A lot of tools. So anyway, the count was slathered on lotion, which was good because the lotion did not, there was chunks and bits of chocolate in there. And the count was already, an interesting complexion, but this was even more interesting. Then we sent the count back into the movie, right? And we sent the count back in pretty early because, the thing was now the movie, when we got back, it was the Count to Chocolate movie. But it was still a movie, not an animated film. So we got to count in right around the time the count, so we had to do it after the count had got away, right before the count moved to London. Because the count had to still get away from Vilma Vanka or negotiate their exit from that plan. And then get lonely and then move to London to wave at people. Now, this is what happened, though. So, because there was a change in location, we didn't really see it. And we saw it briefly because they kind of skip over it in the movie, even though there's recently there's a movie about it, but the count takes a ship right to London. And apparently even this happened because, if you slather a lot of lotion on, you leave lotion behind wherever you touch. And it turns out if you do that on a ship, you leave the lotion behind everybody on the ship. So a couple of times the count didn't even make it to London. Then eventually we said, okay, we'll give you the lotion when you get to London. And then you got to get inside, but still it was hard. And then the count was waving. But eventually we realized it didn't fix things because one, even when the count's waving, there's little bits of lotion flying everywhere. And that would had the essence of the count on there. So if you got hit by a drop of lotion, you may turn into chocolate. And that wasn't good that would always end the movie the way it ended before. Everybody would say, oh boy, this count. I don't know if we need to Van Helsing or Harker or what. But in the end, that would be no more count to chocolate. So yeah, where I left off here. Let's see. So then the count came back. We had, count full. Every time the count would get, just like in the other ones, count would pop back out of the movie. So we said, okay, lotion's not going to work, clearly. So then we thought perfume, because there's also perfume. That was another, I can't even sense or something. Sense and sensibility. I think it was a sense and sensibility. That was the name of that place. And we said, okay, we'll soak the chocolate in perfume. I'll just save it one holy mackerel, or cologne, whatever. Smelly stuff, man. Counts cut. First of all, I'd clog the sprayer. So then the count would have to put it on and splash it. Same issue, also very off-putting anyway. So the count already had all these things not going for him. And then if he smelled strongly of whatever, I don't even know what does leather like in musk even smell like? Like people were like uncles and but and we even tried fancy ones, because we thought, man, I mean, we all laughed because we said Dracar Noir, man, all the way. Like, what else would the count wear? And that was but it still didn't work. But also, like, made people cough and not want to be around the count before the turning to chocolate. So then another idea came up, which could be like, we said, have you tried to eat any of this fake chocolate? And the count said, yeah, it's disgusting. Like, it's not chocolate. That's why, like I'm saying, you think my chocolate's not chocolate. I think your chocolate's not chocolate. And then we were like, you can't turn chocolate. We tried chocolates. We were like, what if we build you a chocolate like a real chocolate thing to live in? That didn't work. Eating chocolate didn't work. But then we thought about idea. What if we dry the chocolate out, right? So if we put the chocolate, we're like, how are we going to dry the chocolate out? This is how this idea came to be. Like, okay, what if we dry the chocolate out into a powder, and then I guess we didn't realize, like, we could have just bought, but then I said, is that the same cocoa powder as they have in Europe? I don't know. But anyway, we finally were like, then you could dust it on yourself like a powder, or eat it like maybe in concentrated powder form. Like maybe this is a way to figure it out. So then we gathered, so then we got everything ready, right? We said, okay, well, we'll take this dried chocolate, we'll dry the chocolate out. So I don't know, I guess basically our plan was to dry out this chocolate. So we're brainstorming, how do we dry out chocolate? And then it's an easy bake oven. That one was easy. So we went into the to one of the toy stores. Oh God, Easy Bake Oven is and I think they still have them. It was for it was like a piece of plastic with metal inside where you could bake stuff based on a really strong light bulb. And it came with little tins. So we actually needed a bunch of them. So I think we got like 5 or 6 Easy Bake Ovens. And this part did not go spectacularly because what we did was we filled up all the tins, we had to use like the outside of the inside of the mall, but outside of the store, we found plugs. Because in this chocolate shop we were working in, it didn't have a ton of plugs. But anyway, so we all start plugging in these Easy Bake Ovens. Put like the little baking tins, we put chocolate in there, thinking that would dry it out. But what happened really was like, didn't go well because the chocolate didn't exactly dry out so much as melt and cook and smoke. And we had them all like, so we're all together. And then, so this like, it would have been comedic if it wasn't for the Count of Chocolate being there. Because we're all standing like around this ring of Easy Bake Ovens. And they all start like producing a lot of smoke at the same time. So much so that we're bumping into one another. I don't know, like, I mean, we're just teenagers, right? Except for the Count of Chocolate's like hundreds of years old or whatever. But not familiar with the principles of electricity or Easy Bake Ovens. So we're bumping into one another. So this is important. So we're in the middle of what would be defined as fake chocolate smoke by the Counts, and bumping into one another. And I bumped forehead to forehead with the Count, which I didn't realize till after we got everything cleared out, right, and unplugged. And even then, we didn't realize, we said, oh man, like, why didn't we realize, like, it wouldn't melt? But But I said, wait a second, after some time, I said, I bumped heads with the count and I'm not, and then we weren't willing to do any otother experiments. We said, but we were like, okay. And we said, if you touch your forehead to somebody else, like, and the count said, yeah, probably turn to chocolate. So we were like, okay, smoke works, burnt fake chocolate works. So then we're like, okay, but the count can't bring back, there's no plugs in London when the time goes. In this movie, the count, it's waving at people. So there's we're like, well, can't we just wait until they invent electricity? And they said the plugs are still different, but also the count. So then we said, okay, what about torches, right? Torches are a big thing in all these movies. Or chocolate burners. So we're trying to do that. And then, we tried a couple tests in the movies. It didn't work, especially because people don't like smelly fake chocolate doesn't smell good. It doesn't really smell like it smells really not good at all. So, so that didn't work, but we were like, okay, wait a second, this smoke, what other things, could we do, what else could we do with this? And then we realized, Boyd is known, I haven't referred to Boyd as a corncob kid in a little while, but Boyd was known as a corncob kid in our high school because he had a corncob pipe that was for little kids. And he just used it for comfort or style. Once upon a time, and this is part of the story, these shopping malls and other places had tobacco stores. People used to smoke pipes and tobacco and cigars and all, other things. It was a commonplace type thing. Sherlock Holmes, a famous pipe smoker. So people would go to these stores to get pipe tobacco. I would assume cigars and other stuff, but I don't really remember. Pipes, pipe accessories. What a time to live, right? I mean, even now, it's my past. I don't believe it. But so, boy, they also gave to kids. One of the things you get for free is a corncob pipe. I don't know if you had to make a purchase or not. And it was like a little kid's pipe. You didn't smoke anything in it. But whatever, it looked like something, but it was a pipe. It was so we said the pipe shop, holy cow. And this place was called Pipes to Paradise. I don't know why, because I don't know, or Two Pipes to Paradise, maybe it was Two Pipes to Paradise after that song. I thought it was called Primo Pipes, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So we went to the pipe shop with a general idea of this idea could have some, where else are we going to find smoky stuff? And then this is when we knew we were on the right path because we went in there and out of the back of the shop, because there was a bell when we opened the door. Because it was one of the places that had a door, because I don't think you were allowed, maybe at a time you could smoke pipes in there. But anyway, there's an employee working at the pipe store. And they said, how can we help you? And we said, we need, do you have any chocolate tobacco? And they just laughed. And they said, we have bubblegum tobacco, and we have bubble cigars, candy cigarettes, but no chocolate tobacco. It's bubblegum flavors we have. We said, no, not for us, for him, because the count was with us. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, he wants to smoke chocolate. And the person was like, well, we do make custom blends here. Smoked chocolate, eh? I'm not sure that could work exactly. And we said, well, why not? And they said, well, because it's a different kind of smoke. We said, well, could you try to make a custom blend of whatever, chocolate and tobacco, for the count. And they said, yeah, we could definitely do that. And we said, okay, but, what is he going to do? Like, and they said, well, we're out of, pipe cleaners. So I'll make you, a custom blend if you get me some pipe cleaners. We said, but you don't have any customers. And then they said, well, yeah, obviously we do. We need pipe cleaners. We're fresh out. And I was just about to head out and get some pipe cleaners. So this took a little bit of disagreement because we said, no, you don't need pipe cleaners. There's like the stores. And so they didn't register that none of this was really happening. And it became clear we had to go get pipe cleaners. And then the count said, don't worry, I'll stay behind here and I'll help with the blend. Can you go get some pipe cleaners? We were like, unfortunately, there's only one tobacco shop at the mall account. Of all the other double ups, there's not any other places that would, and then, Sand said, no, there is another place we could get pipe cleaners. And they made a toot sound, which was very confusing. But then we realized it was a steamboat sound because there was a show, Saturday Steamboat, that we used to watch when we were younger. On the show was a segment from the Crafty lady where she would teach youth crafts. Now she had a chain of stores called the Crafty Lady. And there was one at the mall. And obviously, like big, especially when we were kids, it was tongue depressors or pipe cleaners were like two of the main crafts. In fact, I can't even think of any other ones other than like Play-Doh. So we said, oh, yeah, Crafty Lady's going to have it's got to have tons of pipe cleaners there. So we headed to the Crafty Lady. Now, this was a strange part about this mall. Some of the stores were locked. Some of them were open. And there wasn't really a rhyme or reason to that thus far. But we got to the Crafty Lady, and it was locked up tight with a padlock. So instead of having a gate that lowered, it had a gate that went across, and you locked it with a padlock. And we tried to, get around that, and we couldn't. And then we were like, man, well, and then Josie was like pulling on the line and said, wait a second, there's a key halfway in here, or like 3/4 away broken off, because we were using our things. We couldn't get anything in there, right? And we were trying to figure things out. And while we were trying to figure out what we could stick in there to get the key open, Josie started talking about second thoughts, like just in general. But I think talking about what is this? Josie was kind of, we thought all the adventuring had caught up with Josie. But now looking back on it, it was like Josie's perspective was beginning to change. Because some stuff I was laughing about at the time wasn't really laughable. Josie's like bubblegum cigars, candy cigarettes. Now, this was also important because, it kept all this fresh in our minds. And Josie's saying, they should know better, blah, 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 this whole thing. And then Josie reached around her neck where she had this medallion. And we'd never seen this medallion before. And we said, what is that? Because it was very interestingly shaped. And Josie had gotten into a very exclusive school. And Josie said, well, this is this is my club legacy medallion. Both of my parents were in this club. And this is my entry into this club. like a finial club, we'll call it. And you get into one of these finial clubs, especially at this school, and you don't have to be Mark to tell anybody that this is like paves the way towards your thing. And Josie, like, I don't know if it was symbolic, but Josie seemed to think that the medallion was like you couldn't get into this club without a medallion and all the other stuff. And I don't know, it was when Josie was kind of still like frustrated with what was the status quo in general. Like it's just all piling up at one moment. Josie tore the medallion off. It had like, it was like one of those breakaway, like, chain type things. And one of the edges of the medallion just happened to fit in the key thing. But as soon as Josie stuck it in there, it was stuck in there. And Josie like turned it and the lock popped open, but then couldn't get the medallion out. And I think in the, like, even though in this story it just seems like a brief moment, I think it was a long drawn out moment of Josie trying to get the medallion out, still being frustrated with the tobacco shop being one of the main focuses of frustration. But we weren't, we were like perceiving it as something different. But now looking back, I could see clearly. And then Josie debating, wanting to break off the medallion and then saying some strong language and just throwing the padlock across the mall into an empty fountain. Saying, you know what, like, forget about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but not, it was strong, much stronger language than that. And then Josie throwing the gates of the Crafty lady open and go get the, like telling us, go get the, pipe cleaners. And meanwhile, everybody was in there, and Josie went into another section of the Crafty lady and came out with like giant bubbles, like bubble concentrate. And we said, "What's that?" And Josie said, "Trust me." And we were walking back, and we said, "Well, what are you?" And the boy said, "Because there's bubble pipes at the bubble store, or at the tobacco shop too. And there's like a new technology one." So anyway, we went back to the tobacco shop. We got back there, and the tobacco employee, the shop employee, we're going back and forth on the blends, and there was a little bit of smoke in the air. And, like Josie was very matter of fact, we got your, things, but we need to make a different blend now. Josie had all the a couple jugs of this stuff, and said to the count, like, you could easily make this, in your thing. But they had this new state-of-the-art pipe for children, again, where now they never sold this pipe, we they did. You could buy it, I guess. It was very expensive, but the employee was like, "Oh, the bubble smoke," and then we like went and trying to think of the fastest way to explain this, but basically, there was a pipe they had butane powered. So again, this was something that probably the count could replicate, because the count was pretty smart, you know. Also, like, we were thinking that we had to help the count long term. We really had to solve the problem in the movie. So we were, again, confused to, like, of how to solve, like, we're over planning or over engineering, because that was our style anyway. But like, so this pipe was an amazing feat of engineering. It could make a bubble with smoke in it, and it would pop. So you mixed bubble stuff and then whatever you were going to have make the smoke. And you didn't have to have tobacco to make like the smoke. You could have anything that makes smoke, and it only needed a tiny amount to fill a bubble with smoke. The bubble would float, and then it would pop, and then the smoke would be in the air. This was something, another form of advertising they did. The employees would sit out front of the store and do these, like, it was like magic, you know. So we got that thing, basically. I mean, that's the short version. So we had chocolate to put into the thing, to the heating element. We had bubble concentrate, and we had this pipe. And we had the general time. We'll send the count back when the count gets to London. Even though people were already kind of frustrated with the count at that point. And so we sent the count back to London. We said, you can wave and smoke your bubble pipe and see what happens. And hopefully this works. And so that's what we did. We sent the count back. Count gets to London, which in the movies did not go to plan, right? But basically the count wanted closeness to other people. And so the count's up there smoking this bubble pipe, which already gets people's attraction and the waving. But again, in movie time, this is only like 4 or 5 minutes. Even though if that was a real world, which we kind of thought it is, that was like whatever, weeks and months. But the count is waving at Lucy and Mina and Harker. And because the count knows now, the count's also apologized. Hey, Harker, sorry about that stuff at my castle. It got a little weird there. Too much, chocolate liqueur. I should, I just want to be really friends with you and whatever. But, the thing with Lucy was that Lucy and the count kind of I don't know, they had something with a lot of eye contact and the bubbles and the smoke. And then, because the count kind of knew, I think the count had figured out, or we'd explained the time travel thing. The count could take a little bit more levity because the count knew, I could, if stuff doesn't go well, I'll just leave the movie and I can retry again. So eventually, the count starts inviting people over, like Lucy, Mina, and Harker. I don't even know if I don't think Van Helsing was ever even in the movie now. And while they would only sit around in company, the count could smoke in the movie, the count's smoking the bubble pipe and it's popping and stuff like that. And the movie gets close, so then the count has all three of them there. And he invites them over for a meal, because they've sat in the parlor before. And then, the count invites them over for a meal. So then, there's, one of those things, where they're at the door and the door opens and there's smoke, but then it's animated, becomes a cereal commercial again, like the last time. And then it's a cartoon version of the count, much more cartoony. And there's the bubble. Now, in this one, the count has, instead of a smoke bubble pipe, just a bubble pipe, which is free inside every box, your own bubble pipe, where you could produce bubbles instead of smoke. And Harker goes, well, what are you celebrating with with your pipe, Count? He said, my new cereal, sit down and enjoy it. Smoked chocolate. Then Lucy says, smoked chocolate milk. And then we said, what's smoked? Oh, it's delicious. Try it. This is the milk you're going to want to drink twice. That was the saying. Smoked chocolate, the milk you want to drink twice. And then the Harker goes, double up my milk. And basically, I don't know if there was any smoked chocolate in the commercial, other than that it was the Count of Chocolate cereal. And that it was said it was smoked chocolate. I think because there was another cereal that's so similar that the fact that it's smoked chocolate, I don't even know if they said smoked chocolate. I said, what is it even afterwards, But it ended and the count was gone. The movie ended. And then we stayed in the theater and we said, well, now we definitely need to rest. And this time we got a little closer. We actually snuggled, all of us, because we felt bad for Josie. Even though Josie seemed like whatever, stressors had kind of passed, we got the idea that something was going on with Josie, and we didn't realize that she had already kind of made her choice to now for the right, to diverge from this path of taking to greatness to a more normal path. But I guess that's a spoiler, but the best kind, that all will be well. So smoked chocolate cereal came your way tonight. Good night, everybody. I'm Wyatt. I'll be back soon. All right, I want to just thank everybody who signed up to support the show on Sleep With Me Plus. I want to thank Jay, Michael, and Sarah. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Kate, Hannah, and Megan. Thanks, and good night. Sydney, JJ, and Kathleen. Thanks, and good night. Terry, Karen, and Hannah. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Stephen, Gustav, and Chanel. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Riel, Claire, and Lulu. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Sam, Vivian, and Ashley. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Craig, Nadia, and Margarita. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Chester, Slavin, and Justine. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. And Allison, Laura, and Danica, and John. Thank you. Thanks, and good night. Thanks to everybody who supports the show on Sleep With Me Plus or in Apple Podcasts, or was a former supporter on Patreon, or supports our sponsors. Please let me know if you do any of those things so I can thank you for helping keep the show free for everybody. A free way to support the show where you get rewarded, but also a huge help to the podcast is just to spread the word about the show and share it. You could sign up for our referral program at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer. But yeah, that's it. Thanks so much. And here's either Scoots with a Tuck You In sponsor, or our week, what is it called? Weeks in Review, I think. Thanks and good night.